Yeah, well, I think again, everything is, that's in 50% average. I mean, there's going to be districts that have a 35-cent levy, and their tax savings is not going to be very. You're going to see a great savings, but it's going to be different each place. Go ahead, Senator Linehan.
Well, because I live in Elorn, so. I would, this is why it's so confusing for people, but in Elkhorn, we have a lot of SIDs, so if you live in an SID, you can have a different tax situation than if you're just in the city, and you're also going to have a different tax situation depending on, and this will affect Elkhorn and Gretna, where you've got a large bond issue. We are not building schools with state money. Those are bonds, and that's a vote of the people. So if you pass a bond, you're still going to be responsible for a bond that's on your property taxes. So I'm guessing, when I looked at mine in Elkhorn, it was more than 33%, but I'd have to look specifically at I'm assuming maybe there's an SID involved.
But it's a great question. Everybody's not going to have 50%. There's going to be places, some will have 65, 70%. No, we don't have it in the booklet. The goal of the booklet is real simple, to educate Nebraskans on the high points of the plan, have Nebraskans say, this makes strategic, conceptual sense, and please engage with your senators so your voice is heard instead of all the lobbying groups. I think that those detail for us to put a plan out, that the unicamerals, when the unicameral comes together, that's their job to put together and what the plan will be to be able to come up with the extra funding. Excuse me. Yes, I think that in regard to the sales tax items, those items, we'll leave that to the unicameral to make sure that they decide and come together. Obviously, I've put out and said all the exemptions are up from my seat. Go back and list all the exemptions. I support putting every one of them back on. But that's going to be up to the partners in the unicameral to decide that. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a couple things. One is we're talking about 100% state fulfill its constitutional obligation, quit quitting on kids, and fund K-12 education. Dramatically different. And that, this plan has a dramatic difference in property tax relief. Number one. Number two, this plan is really, really important that we stop spending money, that we start finally having courage to say no more. Local control is incredibly important to all of us in Nebraska, but we've proven, I don't know if everybody realizes it, it took me way too long to understand, but I mean, we have state statute in play today. Everybody's uptight about the valuations of your homes, right? We shouldn't be. We have state statute that says whatever valuations go up, our levy goes down accordingly, no change. State statute in play. Except there's a relief valve. Relief valve for every local government to override it, and we've been very, very good at that. We do it 100% of the time. So we have to have hard caps. So I'm a believer in this. If anybody wants to go back and check the facts, when the Obama administration took place, we went through a severe recession. Everybody remember that? Most of us in Nebraska don't, because from renewable fuels, our economy was thriving. We had lots of revenue. We had lots of revenue, and so consequently, we grew government at 5 and 6%. During a time, 9 straight years of deflation. Deflation means we had deflation of 2 and 3%. So I'm an advocate, hard cap zero or CPI. What that means is when we go back and have 3% deflation, each government is zero. They're not asked to cut like we're doing at the state, but it's zero. If it's a hard cap 3, that means government grows 6%. Didn't we learn that? Didn't we learn that? It's simple. So really, really important that we have policy that stands, policies that affect us, and that's why hard cap zero or CPI is really, really important. When communities, and there's growth component for communities, but when communities need more money for others, they take it to the vote of the people, not 3 or 6 people. Sure. Not a shadow of a doubt. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's, not all of us are going to agree, but I've talked to a number of people that are in the renting business. And the people that say, no, that's not, they obviously don't have assets that they rent out. If you're going to not share, if anybody's been in that business, do you want to have a good renter or a bad renter? If you have somebody that doesn't take care of your place, you can't charge enough for rent. The market will correct, and renters will win by property tax reform. Not a shadow of a doubt. That's the free market. That's how it works. Those of you that say that doesn't happen, well, the one thing we can agree, what we're doing now, rent will continue to keep going up. When we're at $1 million a day, it'll keep going up. It'll be going up $200 a month. It'll keep going up. This plan will solve the problem, not a shadow of a doubt. I believe in the free market. I believe in the American dream. Free markets work. That's why we're the greatest country in the history of civilization, for crying out loud. Yes, sir.
Philosophically, what does this mean for local control? I elect school board members, I expect them to cut my budget. Do I expect these folks to do what I would expect my neighbors to do?
Yeah. Well, I think that the best answer that I can give you is local control. School board continues to be the most important elected official in the state, in my humble opinion. The difference simply is this just allows school board members and superintendents to focus on educating our kids. I've asked a lot of school board members, why did you run for school board? I've yet to have anybody tell me because I'm a TIOSA expert and I can really help my superintendent figure out how on earth to balance our budget and figure this out. So this plan, as I've met with superintendents yesterday, said, I can't imagine what it's like to be a superintendent today to try to navigate what we ask them to do. Try to set a conservative budget, and then all of a sudden wake up because of valuations. You have a whole different formula coming of money coming from the TIOSA formula. That will get fixed and be addressed to be simplified. This is simply talking about funding. All the operational issues will get done in January in the next session, and it'll be a work in progress. But the bold plan, no, it's not bold. It's just fixing the solution.
It's
Senator.
looking for the regents and
Yeah,
community
yeah. Thank you, Senator. And I had the privilege to serve on the Board of Regents for 10 years. You know how much charge the Board of Regents has on funding? Zero. I think I did a great, I worked my tail off to make sure that the funding that we receive from the state, that it was utilized correctly and done. That's the expectation of school boards. Same in community colleges. When we changed the funding to community colleges, same model, same backstops. Everybody that I talked to that ran for boards in community colleges, they didn't have any concept nor desire to be a taxing authority. They wanted to make a difference in running our community college just so we have strong trade schools, trade programs, and make sure every kid gets an opportunity. Andrew. Yeah, no, that's not, so the plan will be exactly the way the funding goes now, and the commitment is no school, number one, all schools' funding is in place for this school year. Nothing changes. And then in January, there'll be conversations in the unicameral about how do we make sure that we don't get calls from a senator, from a superintendent that says, I've put forth a 1.5% growth plan, and now all of a sudden, because of valuations, I'm $11 million short from the state. We have to have a plan that is consistent funding. I have told superintendents I am committed. Every superintendent I've met across the state, I've asked this question. How many state statutes do you have that do nothing but raise the cost of educating our children and have no impact on their outcome? Guess what? Every superintendent says, we've got a lot. Well, I'm committed to helping clean the closets out there, to make sure we don't have to have all this administrative bloat, so we pay teachers more. Not cut that money, take that money and pay teachers more. Who can be against solving our problems so we can pay teachers more and have great outcomes for our kids? That's what this plan does. Yes, sir, Zach. Yeah, that's a conversation that, again, we'll have in the proposal right now. And again, we learned this in transition when we had 40 people around the table. Everybody in the school industry says if we can rely on 3% growth every year, and that's what our commitment is. So nobody goes backwards, 3%. And just remember, more money and more people don't solve all the problems. What we have to do is we have to come together and make sure that we don't keep asking for more measurables to hire more people to keep track of stuff. Let's focus on educating our kids, and that's where superintendents, we all agree, let's clean the closets out. We don't have to have as much administrative bloat in school systems, and we can pay teachers more. That's where the money comes from. Yes, sir, Andrew. You know, if I was worried about making more money, I sure as hell wouldn't have become governor. Bill? I think that the plan will be that the session starts next Thursday. I think that's the 25th, next Thursday, and I think that the probability would be that the people beside me will introduce bills that have to do with the budget, from appropriations and then with revenue, and that's how all those details haven't been worked out, but that'd be the conceptual perspective at this time. We have lots of pieces, but there's, you know, I mean, I have full confidence in all the 49 members of the legislature to be able to critically think, ask questions, work through, compromise. You know, nobody's genuflecting at the altar. Are you kidding me? We're Nebraskans. I'm sorry, Andrew. I'm not understanding the question. I'm sorry.
So they want to know when. You're asking, I believe, when the governor will issue a proclamation for the special session? Is that the question? And how narrow will it be?
I can't answer that, Andrew, I'm sorry. No, not at all. I mean, honestly, it's a busy time of the year. Everybody's working nonstop. There's people on vacation. There's people everywhere, and people have worked so hard. I wasn't going to encumber and ask other people to come. Yeah, of course. Again, we're going to have bipartisan support that's going to exceed 33 votes for this session. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah, who pays for the booklet? Pillen for governor pays for the booklet, and Pillen for governor will be doing whatever we decide's best to help Nebraskans understand the problem and get engaged to make sure their voices are heard. Kind of the same thing I've done from day one and running to become governor. Getting Nebraskans activated in this process so their voices are heard. All right, well, thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate it, and I appreciate you helping us get the message out to activate Nebraskans so their voices are heard in the democratic process. It's really, really important. Thank you.
All right, guys, we just heard from Governor Pillen chatting a little bit about reducing property taxes by 50%. Now, you'll recall when he was first running before he got the ticket, he was talking about reducing property taxes, and then he won the race for the governor, talked about reducing them by 40%, now by 50%. So today he's kind of unveiling his plan, right? So when we take a look at my notes here, just to kind of take you through, a little bit of what we were discussing earlier. So basically, the Nebraska plan is a 50% tax cut. Now, Senator Luann Linehan was there as well, and she was chatting a little bit with the governor about, how this could be 63%, it could be 73% for various areas, specifically for Linehan, Elorn, and the Gretna area she was discussing. More money for public schools, that's what they're looking for. More money for public schools means more money for teachers under this new plan, so that's what they're talking about there. Also protecting public safety, that was a big issue. A hard cap on tax collections. State government runs like a business. That was one thing that the governor was saying a lot of as well. Sales tax items are left up to the unicameral. He was basically answering reporter questions, and unfortunately, during the news conference, we couldn't really hear what questions the reporters were asking, but, so just piecing it together here and there kind of gives us a little better idea of what the governor was chatting about. So he's saying this plan has a dramatic difference in property tax relief. They're going to stop spending money and save more, is what he's been saying. They have to have hard caps. He went in to criticize the Obama administration, saying when they took office, we had massive inflation in our country. He said this plan will solve the problem. He's talked a lot about America being a free market, part of the American dream. He also says, as far as the school board goes, this allows the school board members to focus on their children, not on the politics. So this is he doesn't call it a bold plan. He said this is fixing the problem. So that was kind of something that I thought was interesting to take note of as well. Let me see here. Okay, yeah, as I mentioned, a big part of it was getting enough funding for schools, which also means that teachers will get paid more. So he's saying this is a bipartisan effort when the legislative heads back in session, not this Thursday, but he said next Thursday, the 25th. So they're going to introduce bills from the appropriations and revenue committees, and that's part of the conceptual plan for now. And the commitment is 3% growth every year. So this is kind of a bold statement. Just kind of going back briefly talking about this plan. So 50% property tax cut. That's about 10% more than he was discussing when he took office, saying 40% cut. So this will be interesting. More money for public schools means more money for teachers. Protecting public safety is top of mind there. A hard cap on tax collections And lastly, state government runs like a business, so he really wants to put that cap in, make sure that the sales tax items are coming in at a certain rate, and kind of going from there. And we'll have more on this story as it develops throughout the day. I believe our Brian Mastery is working on that. In the meantime, I do want to take you over to our website. That's WOWT.com. You can always get more information on this story and several others on our website, so that's good to know. And again, our top story, we just heard Governor Pillen sharing his plan to cut Nebraska property taxes in half. So feel free to always go to our website. Always good information there. Before we go, I want to take a look from our Blackstone camera. A beautiful day out there. Thankfully not as oppressively hot as we've experienced, not yesterday, yesterday was beautiful too, but the past few days now, so not a cloud in the sky in this shot. Also, here's a look at Children's Nebraska. So another cloudless sky to take a look at there. Beautiful day out there. And taking a quick look at traffic at 144th and Dodge. Again, not a cloud in the sky in that shot either. So a beautiful day, shaping up to be a beautiful day, and seemingly traffic flowing smoothly there. So that is all great news as well. And in the interim, just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me at the Alert Center. Again, we'll have more on this story online, WOWT.com, and on our broadcasts. We'll be sure to see you for our first broadcast, first at 3, with our Dave Zavolinsky. Until then, enjoy this beautiful day.